Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host, Lex.
And I'm the other host, Dan. I was typing in chat.
It is Friday, October 21st. We are a video game news podcast, broadcasting live on Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. on www.chipbit.net, also twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. Dan is having headphone problems at the moment. But
It's so confusing.
I think you got to unplug them.
I don't think I'm going to do this.
Okay, just don't deal with it.
We're good.
It's fine. Should have gotten the Bluetooth.
Got that blue teeth.
Oof.
I have an electric toothbrush that has Bluetooth functionality.
That's excessive.
I don't know what it does with the Bluetooth functionality.
Oh man, does it?
But I find it delightfully ironic.
Does it vibrate to like the beat of like music or something?
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be
Maybe
amazing.
I should actually look at the manual and figure out why it has Bluetooth functionality.
So yeah, we can be found on a lot of different social media, such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, as I said earlier, Steam, and iTunes.
That is correct. We also have a Patreon page, so if you like the show and want to support it, you can do so by visiting our Patreon, and you get all sorts of little Patreon backer rewards, and we have some goals laid out on there as well. There's something else I wanted to add to that. Oh yeah, and you can also support us by going on iTunes and leaving us an iTunes review.
That would be super
Which would
nice.
be great.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got good stories this week.
Oh, this was a good week for video games.
This was a really good week for video game news. I'm actually super excited to talk about most of the stuff we've got today. The first thing, which I'm just going to pull up right here, this particular Polygon article, if you're watching us on Twitch. The Nintendo NX was officially revealed, and it is called the Nintendo Switch. And I'm still calling it the NX because I'm so used to calling it the NX.
But the good takeaway from this is neither of those are bad names.
No, they are not.
So Nintendo is already,
Switch,
outdoing themselves.
Nintendo Switch is a great name, and it has a great logo.
It does.
I really like that little logo. You can see it over here.
Oh man, the click that it makes and like the graphic for it. Oh, it's so good.
They made an appealing little advertisement for it. My one gripe being that appealing little advertisement is like all we've got. Yeah,
so it's like they made a 3-minute thing. But what are some of the other stories we've got? Because we got a bunch.
Oh yeah. There's that. There's there's some Legend of Zelda news. There's some Pokemon news. There's a lot of Pokemon news, actually.
Pokemon got hacked.
That demo came out this past week, too, and I played that, so I can give my impressions as well. We've got some article. We got stuff about video game voice actor strike.
Oh, that's
again.
Actually... See, that would have been the big news this week if the Switch wasn't announced.
Right. We got a little bit of story about Overwatch, and then just some other stories about upcoming game announcements, and... not even upcoming game announcements, but games that have already been announced and we're just getting a little more news on. The one in particular being that Red Dead Redemption 2 was also announced this week.
Oh, yeah.
Got a little teaser trailer, and there's not a whole lot to say about it, but it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But let's jump right into the Switch, because I don't want to waste a ton of time talking about stuff we don't need to talk about, because we got good things to talk about.
Good things!
The Nintendo Switch. So basically, do I have something here that shows a better picture of, like, the whole thing?
That's not a bad picture.
That's not bad.
Okay.
So the gist of this thing is you got a little charging dock where you put, where you can, like, put this little tablet screen, when you're playing it at home. Mm-hmm. So it has a home console mode, if you will, where you put the tablet screen into
Wait, let's back up.
Whoa.
The Nintendo announced the Nintendo Switch, their next console.
Oh yeah, that's probably important for anyone who's not following.
Let's give some context here.
If you've been... Oh, there's a better picture of it on the side here.
Oh, that's a good picture.
If you've been hearing all these rumblings about the Nintendo NX, the next Nintendo console... all over the place. That's what this is.
And a lot of
this is its real name.
So a lot of the rumors were this was going to be a hybrid living room console and handheld console.
And that apparently is true.
It's exactly what it is. So it looks like we were just saying. It's basically a tablet. It looks like a pretty thick, like a meaty tablet, kind of like the Wii U controller, except a little meatier.
Yeah,
and a little more.
Less cumbersome looking.
Yeah, it looks like there's more like hard angles on it.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like black and gray instead of white.
The screen also appears to have a slightly more matte finish.
Yeah.
It's not as glossy looking.
Mm-hmm. So that's
where you start.
Yeah, and then as Dan was saying, you put it into a dock.
Yes.
Which is hooked into your TV, and then you can play on your television.
Right, it's TV output as well as charging the tablet portion. The controller is made up of these two little sliding panels almost with joysticks and buttons on them that can either slide onto the side of the tablet for when you're using it on the go and make it very much like a Wii U gamepad, or can be slid onto a joypad little like controller dock to make a more, as you can see if you're on Twitch, a controller that's sort of similar to Nintendo's Wavebird.
It does kind of look like that.
Gives me a Wavebird vibe.
It looks a little weird, like a little cumbersome, like it might not be particularly
like
comfortable
a
to hold.
Controller.
Oh, that's what it looks like. But it also comes with what is it called, like a Pro controller?
Yeah, you can also get a Pro controller that looks more like, kind of like an Xbox controller in shape.
It looks like a generic current generation controller.
So probably comfortable, looks fine.
Yeah.
That I believe... Excuse me. Drank so much water before the show.
And so many cookies.
I had my pre-show water and cookie. I can't do the show without it. That Pro controller will be sold separately, much like the Pro controllers for the Wii and Wii U. So what you get with it would seem, is the single Joy-Con controller like setup. So the two halves and then the central piece for making the larger controller. The video shows off all sorts of stuff, like you can take the tablet with you and slide the Joy-Con pieces onto the side to use it like a mobile Wii U gaming tablet. You can set it up as a home console, outputting to a television, and play it with just the Joy-Con set up as a regular controller. Mm-hmm. You can set up the screen, like the gamepad screen, as a sort of replacement TV with a little stand it has, and then you can play games on that. Like, you can have two people playing with each half of the Joy-Con.
Oh, do we have the video for the announcement somewhere?
Because
if we could play that... Ooh, that's a great picture.
That's a really good picture. Man. Look at that slick logo.
Oh, it's so good.
It's great.
But if we could just play that in the background while we're talking, I feel like that might be beneficial.
I'm just going to pull it up on the YouTube.
Okay, so, but there's all sorts of cool things. One of the things I thought was funniest about the trailer, though, is what you just mentioned, that little tab that comes out so it can stand up. There's no way that's not going to break immediately.
Absolutely. Turn the sound off on that. So we'll just leave this while we're talking about the console. As far as... So, the hardware... In my opinion, Nintendo has not given out specs yet, and they have also said, I believe, they put out a tweet shortly after this saying, like, we will not be releasing specs or more detailed software data, really, until next year, which is not great.
But one of the arguments I have for that is almost everything that leaked ahead of time has proven to be true. And we had specs leaked ahead of time.
And they're perfectly good specs.
And they make sense with
what it
is. So I think it's very likely that we already know the specs for this.
Yes. In which case, they're good. Mm-hmm. Part of me, I feel like they might actually be afraid to release the specs. Because... Oh yeah, and it has multiplayer, like Wi-Fi.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that just came up on the video... Oh, there's that tab!
There it is!
One of the things that came out on the video was this takes cartridges.
True as well.
It takes, like, SD cards, basically.
Yeah. They're a little bit bigger than, like, your typical SD card, it looks like. But bringing back the cartridge to home consoles...
Which was another thing that leaked.
Yeah. But that's great. I think that's awesome. Because people seem to think that cartridges can't hold a lot of data, but
that's not true.
It's not true at all.
I mean, they didn't used to be able to,
because nothing could.
But you can buy like 1 terabyte SD cards now. They're crazy expensive.
And what people don't seem to realize is that an SD card is basically just a cartridge. They're pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And having a cartridge, for one thing, cuts down heavily on load times and avoids having delicate parts in the system, like lenses for reading discs and things like that.
Yep.
So in a lot of ways, it makes it more sturdy hardware.
More of its solid state, so you can shake it around and won't ruin it.
Exactly.
Which makes sense for an on-the-go console, but also what it does is it cuts down on digital download stuff.
Yes.
Which a lot of games have been moving toward.
Yes.
But so... this console is super modular. One of the things that we just saw in the video is a lot more of the multiplayer capabilities that this has. This has so many interesting multiplayer capabilities.
It can do a lot of different stuff.
So we can have, I think what we're about to see is this lady playing with her friend where they both take both pieces of the controller.
Yeah, like half of the Joy-Con.
And then they use it, I think that you can play like Mario Kart and stuff that way. And as we're about to see here, you could also have like a bunch of them playing multiplayer together.
They have like a local Wi-Fi play feature, almost like a LAN setup, if you all have one. I mean, a la the 3DS.
Yep.
But what's likely is that it's going to support this for way more games than the 3DS does. One could hope.
One could hope.
So hardware-wise, there's a lot of cool features, there's a lot of cool functionality. The specs look good. Part of me wonders if they were kind of like afraid to announce the specs because the new Xbox and the new PlayStation 4 Pro are coming soon, and by comparison,
it's not going to
look as good.
No,
which has always been Nintendo's problem with hardware, is it's always the weaker hardware.
Yeah,
which I don't have a problem with, but the way things are marketed nowadays, a lot of people do, because there are still a lot of people who put all that stake in the specs and the graphics and that kind of thing. So perhaps going into this holiday season, they don't want to release the specs because they don't want people to be comparing the systems just on that merit, especially if they don't have set software to say it's coming out yet to push in the other direction.
Yeah.
It may be a smart move on their part, given the people will see that and be like, oh, it's so much weaker than these other consoles, why would I bother? And you'd bother because they apparently have partnered with a ton of people.
Oh, do we have the graphic for that?
I do.
Oh, let's see that graphic.
They are partnered with oodles of people.
Because that was the other thing I wanted to talk about from the trailer, which was all the games we saw in the trailer.
I don't have the graphic. I have a list.
Okay.
So this is from an article on Polygon from the 20th of all of the developers listed as a supporting partner for Switch. I will also point out this list is not only big, it dwarfs the list they had for the Wii U's reveal.
Oh, yeah.
The Wii U reveal, people were doing a comparison. Wii U reveal, they had maybe like 10 or so publishers lined up, and they were big-name publishers, but that was it for making software for that game. But we got 505 Games, Activision, Arc System Works. Those are the guys who make like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear.
Yeah!
Like Atlas, makers of fine JRPGs since 1943. Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Capcom, Codemasters, DNA, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, From Software, Game Trust, Grasshopper Manufacturer, The Hamster Corporation, Havoc, Level 5, Konami, Koei Tecmo, Nippon Ichi is in there, Platinum's there, of course, Sega, Silicon Studio, Square Enix, Starbreeze, Take-Two, Telltale, THQ Nordic.
Ooh.
Those guys are in there. Ubisoft, Warner Brothers Interactive, and there's a few more that I didn't list, but it's 48 developers and publishers. Oh, excuse me, there were 21 when the Wii U was first announced. So this is more than double that, and includes a lot of companies that are nowadays a big deal.
Yeah.
Both in the grand, like, AAA game market, like Bethesda and stuff, and smaller, more niche titles that are still really excellent, like Platinum and Atlas and things like that, and From Software. So they've got some really good stuff lined up. And the video showed us, although these games, I will say these games are not confirmed.
Oh, so this is weird. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we'll get onto this topic.
The video showed, it showed a lot of Nintendo games, but it also showed Skyrim.
Skyrim Enhanced Edition.
Showed a lot of Skyrim Enhanced Edition.
As well as NBA 2K17.
Yeah, and we know from this list that the companies that make those games are partners with Nintendo.
Yes.
For this console.
However...
But then Polygon went and asked Bethesda...
And they gave this really weird, like, non-answer?
Yeah, so they were like, Bethesda, are we going to see the Elder Scrolls remaster on this console? Because we basically already did.
Right. So both companies said they're happy to have had the opportunity to collaborate with Nintendo on the trailer, but added, while we are not confirming any specific titles at this time, we are pleased to announce our partnership with Nintendo and support of Nintendo Switch.
So what this seems like... Okay, there's two possibilities for this. One is that Nintendo just super lied to us to get us to buy this console. And I
Look, we have third-party games that are popular.
But not really. But I feel like that's less likely, just because, like, Nintendo wouldn't do that, and if they did do that, they would create so much ill will.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it would be disastrous for them. What I think is more likely is that there is a set announce date when Bethesda is going to announce that Skyrim is going to be on this console.
There'll likely be a big direct where they announce, like, here's a bunch of software coming out right away for the Nintendo Switch. Because this could be a launch title. Skyrim could.
Yeah.
For it, and that would be great for them. As well as NBA, like getting more sports titles on there is a terrific idea, especially with that local multiplayer element.
Totally.
That's really good. Because then you and your buddy can meet up and just play NBA 2K17 on like a handheld together. Which is awesome.
It is awesome.
Like, that's super cool.
Just like in the trailer.
Just like in the trailer.
When you guys are done playing your real b-ball.
So we can... I am hoping... And more leaning on the side of what you just said, that it is like they have a set plan on when to announce this.
Yeah,
and now they're under obligation to not really say anything.
Yeah, so Bethesda, because they are a big company, are just like, okay, well, there's like an NDA until that date, so we're just not, we're not going to say anything.
What I'm really intrigued by is the fact that like From Software is on this list too.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Telltale, so does that mean, that means we'll probably be getting Telltale Adventure games.
Yep.
That means we'll probably be getting Souls games.
Yep.
Ported onto this, which is awesome. Platinum's going to keep making stuff for it.
Oh, and Sega's on it, so we'll get really bad Sonic games, too.
Yes!
Thank goodness.
Oh, the era never ends. And Arc System Works being on there means we might get some really good fighting games on this, too. Which, once again, with that local multiplayer element, is spectacular. You put Guilty Gear on this thing?
Dang!
That's terrific!
So good.
That's so good! Atlas means we might get really good JRPGs. We might get Persona ported onto this thing.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
It'd be so cool. But, like, I don't know. There's so many possibilities.
And we also know...
Capcom, Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
We're getting a Monster Hunter on this thing. Monster Hunter 5 is, like... as far as I'm concerned, it's confirmed for Nintendo Switch.
Now there's going to be a Monster Hunter console game and a Monster Hunter mobile game.
That's so good.
It's so good.
I'll be able to improve the graphics finally.
Finally.
It'll finally look better than a PS2 game.
So, big step up.
It is!
But no, the other thing is that, as was rumored, and I think they confirmed it, is this runs Unity.
Yes, as well as Unreal Engine 4.
That was what I meant to say.
But it runs Unity as well.
Yes.
Which a lot of people are developing on now, too.
So Unreal Engine 4...
developers.
Yeah. Unreal Engine 4 confirmed for the Nintendo Switch, I believe.
Yes.
So this game...
That's like one of the only specific things we have had confirmed, I believe.
So basically what this announcement and some of the other things they've said along with it has told to me... with the fact that the system is super modular, with all the different things you can do with it, with all these different companies that are signed up, with the kind of software framework it's going to support, there is so much potential in this console.
Absolutely. More, I would say way more so than the Wii and Wii U had.
Oh, definitely.
Because the Wii and Wii U's gimmick was motion gaming, motion control. Well, the Wii's gimmick was that, and the Wii U's gimmick was motion control and a touchscreen controller.
Yeah.
This system's gimmick is, it's a hybrid handheld home console with a ton of modularity and options. And that's just, it's a better gimmick. It's a more useful gimmick.
It is. No, okay, so this
It's easier to program for as well.
Yeah, so this seems like Nintendo has finally figured out the thing that has plagued them for years and years and years and years, which is that they were really good at appealing to casual gamers, but not to hardcore gamers.
This bridges the gap.
Yeah, because they're finally like, okay, it's mobile, and has, you can use both you can use both sides of the controller as controllers for really simple games, so you can do all these fun little gimmicky things and take it on the go, so, like, younger people are probably more interested in it.
No matter what sort of gamer you are,
there's something for you, yeah.
Exactly, you have a way to play on this thing.
And with the fact that they showed the Pro Controller in the opening teaser was, I think, also a big part of that.
Absolutely. It's like, if you don't want to use this weird controller setup, we have your solution.
Here it
if
is.
you want the more typical controller, There you go.
There you go.
We have no confirmation of any sort of motion control being a part of this console.
Or any kind of touchscreen capabilities
That
either.
is the other thing, yes.
And the touchscreen capabilities was the big thing that was rumored.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still curious as to whether farther down the line they're going to be like, oh, it has touchscreen capabilities, so if devs want to do that,
I wouldn't
mind
if it didn't.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't mind if it didn't either, but I mean, it's like...
The only way I really want it to have touchscreen is if they
Oh, yeah.
because that game needs it.
That actually made use of it.
Yeah.
One of the few games. But also, like, if you're an indie developer, it gives you more options.
Yes.
And we already know it's going to be easier for you to develop on this. So,
yes.
like, that would be cool, but we don't need it. It is really interesting how different this is from the Wii and the Wii U.
Yes.
Like,
but that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it is a good thing.
It's a super good thing.
It's just like, the whole company just did a 180 for this console.
That's fine.
It's totally fine.
There's a dark side to it, though.
This is the weirdest story. I found this.
Yep.
This is a story from today, the 21st, from Polygon.
Some of these other articles. There's a big article on Polygon here called Our Biggest Nintendo Switch Questions, which has had numerous updates, which has a really good play-by-play of, like, what's the deal with this console. So if you have any specific questions, chances are there is an answer here if it exists. So check that out if you'd like to know more. Like, Starship Troopers style. Would you like to know more? But yes, this is the weird thing.
So yeah, this is an article from today, the 21st, from Polygon, entitled "Nintendo Stock Drops 7% After Switch Reveal."
So apparently, investors were not happy.
Why?
Because they're dumb.
They are dumb is the answer to that question. Yeah. So the day after the starting, stock market thing today, the day after it was announced, they were down 7%. Now they still don't think Nintendo's in bad shape. They're not in bad shape. In fact, I mean, they're still kind of riding high off of the Pokemon Go boost that they got. Yeah. But they also have a total increase over last year by a significant margin.
Right.
So their stock prices are still in great shape. It's just baffling to me that they announced a new console, which is very positively received by the internet.
Yeah, the vast majority of response to this thing I've seen has been really positive.
Yeah,
people are really liking the idea.
All these feeds I'm seeing are just like, oh my gosh, I'm buying this console.
Nintendo didn't screw it up.
Yeah. And yet, for some reason, investors are like, oh, we're getting skittish. Better divest from Nintendo.
This is barring the lack of real software announcements, this is like the best console reveal they've had since like the 3DS. Or since the DS.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, people love this thing.
I mean, it's going to have Zelda on it.
We need to know, but what we need to know for it, although I feel like investors aren't thinking this far ahead unless they already know the price point, we need to know a price point.
Yeah.
Is this thing going to be $250? Is it going to be $350? Because the Wii was $250 when it was released, and the Wii U was $350 when it was released. For, like, the bundle that came with... For the one you wanted, that had more storage space than, like, 8 gigabytes.
Yeah.
So what will this thing's launch price be?
So it's interesting. There has been some weird speculation about this online. One of the things, if you were watching our Twitch stream and you saw the trailer earlier that we were playing for this, one of the things you may have noticed about that trailer when you weren't getting excited over a new Zelda and Skyrim and the fact that the controller comes apart.
It comes apart!
Is all of the people in this trailer were young adults.
Yes, they're all hipsters.
There were, exclusively for hipsters, the Nintendo Switch. But there were no old people and there were no children.
Which have been in all their other...
Yeah, especially like the Wii was marketed at like those demographics hard.
Mm-hmm.
So people were speculating as to why that was. And one of the things that people were saying was, oh, that means it's going to be super expensive. We don't want to market it to kids because they won't be able to afford it.
Only hipsters can afford it.
And I'm like, that speculation's dumb. The reason
kids
why
get their parents to buy things.
Yeah, so actually kids are the ones who can spend the most money because they're not actually buying anything. Yeah. The hipster demographic are the people who have the least money.
Yeah, that's why they drink Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah.
Well, also because it's ironic.
This is also true.
But it's also cheap.
And they get all their clothes from Salvation Army because it's cool and ironic, but also really cheap.
Also really cheap.
That was weird speculation, but it is interesting that there weren't any kids in there. We know from the leaks that one of the leaks was saying, like, hey, this is going to cost, there's going to be a basic version of this that costs $300.
Okay.
And then some sort of bundle that's going to cost $4.
That probably comes with a game.
Yeah.
And some extra controller or something.
We also know, or we also are assuming from these leaks that this has, or actually, was it confirmed that it has the Tegra chipset?
Yes.
Okay, so we know it has that, which is something that the NVIDIA Shield has, which not a very expensive piece of hardware. Mm-hmm. And we know Nintendo has a history of making cheaper hardware.
Yes.
So I think there's a pretty good bet that leak is true, and we're going to see a $300 model for this.
They at least have the sense to market their systems at a lower price point, knowing that their hardware is weaker.
Yeah.
Which is smart, because then people will say, like, oh, your hardware is weaker. Oh, but it's also $100 less than the other hardware available. So it makes it much more appealing. And hopefully that'll continue to be the case. The only time I can think of where Nintendo arguably overpriced something was the initial release of the 3DS, when it cost $300.
It was 3D, Dan.
Yeah.
3D.
They dropped that price fast.
Yeah. No, they didn't. It was a bad choice.
It was a very bad choice. So yeah, it's weird. So, like, this story makes it seem like, oh my god, Nintendo's bombing now after the Switch released, but their stock is still up 53.1%.
It seems like the reason why these investors are skittish is because they didn't get the price point. They didn't get all the details that they wanted to make them, comfortable.
To appease them.
And I think they're being dummies.
Yep.
Because...
It's funny because they went up 4%. Like the night before it was revealed, and then it was revealed, and it dropped 7%.
Yeah, because people knew they were going to make a reveal the next day, so they were like, "Oh, you're getting anticipation,"
and then they were all like, "Oh no,
eject!
It looks good.
Sell the stocks. Get out of here.
Get it out. Burn them."
But no, the people who matter. The investors should realize that the people who matter are the people who are going to buy this console, and the people who are going to buy this console have all said, "This looks great. I'm going to buy it."
Yes.
So.
One other hardware thing to mention is this article I have from today, that the brains, so to speak, of the console are in that handheld unit.
Yeah, so the dock is just a dock.
It's a charging dock, and it handles output to a television through HDMI.
I assume that, we don't know yet, but I assume it's going to up-res the image. Yes. So that might be the hardware that's in the dock, like the...
Yeah, it's hardware so that you can output to through an HDMI connection to a large TV screen. And yeah, I'm assuming it just plays on a down-res version on the, tablet portion.
Which might, and I don't know this for sure, obviously this is speculation, but maybe it's that that saves battery life. Yes. So you're playing at the lower resolution on the tablet when you're on the go, and then because it's plugged into the dock, it's like, oh, okay, well, we don't need to worry about battery life because it's plugged in.
And that's another thing we still don't know is battery life.
And that's going to be a big question for a mobile console, sure.
Yeah. I mean, the 3DS's battery life is pretty good. The newer ones. The Wii U gamepad's battery life is pretty good.
Yeah.
Not as good as the Vita's. The Vita's got really good battery life.
I'm shocked by that. I assume the Vita...
No, Vita's great.
Vita is actually really good hardware.
It's super good hardware. That's why people make jokes about it all the time, because it's just a tragic little piece of hardware, because it's actually great. It doesn't have support. It's beautiful. That screen is so crisp.
So the final thing I want to say about the Nintendo Switch, because we have now talked about it for half an hour and need to move on.
I mean, that was the main story this week.
The main thing I want to say about it is the potential of this console, and what we could see, what I'm hoping to see, what I'm dreaming of seeing, is a return to the glory days of the Super Nintendo and the N64, when everyone was making stuff for a Nintendo console and everybody had a Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
That's just what I want.
Jet Force Gemini 2.
Oh, yeah. Rare, get back in here.
Get back in here,
Rare. Ukulele on this?
Oh.
That would be great.
Possibilities abound. There's some new Breath of the Wild gameplay trailers.
We saw some of it in the Switch.
Yeah, we did. But some of these came out before the reveal of the Switch. If you want to see a little more Breath of the Wild, it's pretty cool. It looks nice.
Use a big leaf to propel your boat.
Beautiful.
It does look really nice.
It's a very nice looking game, and I think that they're, much like the way they're going in a very different direction with the Switch, they also seem to be going in a very different direction with one of their oldest and most beloved franchises.
They're switching it up?
They're switching it up. And I think that is terrific. Because, man, was I getting tired of the Zelda formula.
I mean, there's been a lot of them. It's one of those things, it's like the point we made when they announced the new God of War game.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you want to play the old-style God of War game, there's, like, a ton of them. You're fine. Go back and play one of those.
If you don't like this new Zelda, just play Ocarina of Time and Link to the Past over and over and over again. And shut up about it. There's also Link's Awakening, this Destructoid article from the 18th, is being remade in the Ocarina of Time engine by an Intrepid fan. He is releasing it as a patch to be applied to the ROM of Ocarina of Time instead of a standalone game, which in theory will make it harder for Nintendo to shut him down.
Yeah?
Kinda?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
This article says that, but I'm kind of like, yeah.
He's still developing an IP that's not his. It doesn't matter how he's developing it. He's still developing it.
I mean, it's a cool idea, though.
Seriously, dude, just finish making the game and then release it.
Yeah, I mean,
don't tell us about it while you're making it.
The main reason I wanted to talk about this was because, like, it's happening again.
This every time these people make this mistake. Like, what is wrong with you?
Cool fan project, and then, never mind. With an original soundtrack.
New temples, new dungeons.
So that's a neat idea.
That's cool.
Pokemon Sun and Moon. We gotta talk about Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Well, the demo...
We're on our Zelda kick, or our Nintendo kick.
Yeah, the demo for Pokemon Sun and Moon came out this past week.
Yes.
And then it was immediately hacked.
Yes, people data mined the shit out of it.
Yeah. So we now know... I think we know the full Pokemon roster, don't we?
We do... I don't know if the full roster of, like...
Oh, was it? The full roster probably wasn't in the demo.
It's all the new Pokemon.
Yeah, all the stuff that was in the demo.
All the brand new stuff for Gen 7 has been revealed.
Yes.
Old, including Alola forms of old Pokemon.
Yeah.
All of the other old Pokemon that are in the game are still unknown as far as I know. Like, we know some of them, but there's probably a few that people haven't seen yet.
And these reveals were a mixed bag.
Yes.
Some of our worst nightmares were realized.
And then some amazing treasures were unearthed.
Yes, exactly.
And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
We'll get to that.
So what do we want to start with from this info dump?
Well, first of all, if you don't want to be spoiled on Pokemon Sun and Moon stuff, if you somehow managed to not see this online by now, you may want to, like, back off for about 5 minutes while we go through some of this. The big one first that we should start with is the confirmation of the starter evolutions. We saw those leaked images a while ago, and some people said, no, they're super legit, they're super legit, they're super legit. I was kind of on the fence and thought that they would not be the final designs.
We thought that some of them might be the final designs, but others might not be.
Right. And after seeing the middle forms, I was still on the fence about Rowlet and Litten's, but I looked at Popplio's and was like, yeah, that's going to be its final evolution. 100%. What we have learned, I'm going to scroll down here, is that those are actually the final evolutions. There they are, straight up.
Much to our dismay.
I'm no longer picking Litten as my starter.
Yeah, no.
I'm actually going to pick the seal. Because I can get behind a weird mermaid seal more than I can that thing.
That seal got so feminine in this final
fab.
form.
I want a male one. Rowlet, a lot of people really like his final evolution. I don't.
I don't think it makes sense with the previous two. And I don't think Litten's make sense with the previous two either.
No.
Rowlet's just less obnoxious than Litten's.
Yes, it is. But, like, he turns into, like, Robin Hood when his prior forms were, like, a dapper little butler.
Yeah.
Or something. Like, I do not see the follow here.
It doesn't make sense.
Like, Paplio's fine. Paplio's makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Sure, go for it. And then Litten's is like, he's a little kitten, and then he becomes kind of like a beefy, tigery cat.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Then he becomes a pro wrestler.
A pro wrestler. Okay. I pray he's not firefighting type. Because there have already been so many firefighting type starters.
He looks there's no way he's not firefighting.
He might be fire dark. Might be fire dark.
Edge Master.
He might be an Edge Master. But, like, because that's the thing is, like, last generation, they finally broke the fire fighting chain by making it a fire psychic.
He's even wearing a belt that looks like a wrestling championship belt made
that
of fire.
According to the concept art, can shoot fire. He shoots his fire out of his belt.
There's no way he's not fighting. Like, come on.
I know. I'm so upset. I was so hyped when I saw Litten. I was like, I'm starting with that cat.
Just don't evolve him.
And then Nintendo destroyed all
Just
my dreams.
have him, don't evolve him past his first form.
Keep
because
him
his first
pure.
form is the best.
It's the best by far.
I mean, let's be fair. That's what I do with Abra.
Yeah. Alakazam's alright. Kadabra's weird.
Yeah. But Abra just looks so much better than either of
he's
them.
cool looking.
Yeah.
He's got a cool design. So yeah, here's the concept art. He's a luchador wrestler. There you go. We also got...
Oh, does this article not have the pictures of the other Pokemon?
Yep. Let's get into it.
Oh my gosh.
Let's get into these other new Pokemon. We have the shinies here, too. The shiny colors. That looks terrible.
Yeah, that looks really bad.
The Litten's final one looks really bad. It's very different. We have these two, which may or may not... They come right after Pikipek in the Pokedex, the little woodpecker guy.
Mm-hmm. So
the likely scenario is that these are his evolutions, which is cool because he ends as a toucan.
Yeah, he ends as like a really cool
toucan guy.
Yeah,
his shiny form looks awesome. So I'm cool with that. The boxing crab has an evolution where he becoes a really dopey furry boxing crab.
Sure,
I'm fine with that. He's all right.
That looks good.
Yeah. We got this weird little, like, sea anemone, sea urchin kind of thing.
That has big hair, and its hair just keeps getting bigger.
We have this other really weird
alien
ocean creature. I'm not sure what to make of that, like a water spider thing.
Yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be.
We have an evolution of the little fire poison lizard guy. Turns into, like, a very elegant velociraptor kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Sure.
It's alright. We have a badass evolution for that little trilobite guy.
Oh man,
yeah,
that
he's
looks
like
great.
The tiny little trilobite dude, and he turns into this badass.
Man, that's great.
He gets anchor arms. First he was a wimp, but now he's a jerk. And
he went to the gym.
We have this anchor, which this Polygon article says, like, who thought they could make a worse Pokemon than Trubbish, the garbage bag Pokemon?
Dude, which Trubbish is the man.
F off.
Yeah.
Stop bagging on Trubbish. No pun intended, because he's a bag.
Trubbish was great.
People crap on Trubbish all the time, and they can F off. Trubbish is like my favorite poison type, and I will fight you.
I loved his evolutions. They were so much
He's
fun.
Awesome. He's so much better than Muck.
Yeah.
Grimer is a pile of goo. It's so creative, he's a pile of goo. Yeah. Trubbish is a garbage bag. With a cute face and little garbage arms. And when he evolves, the garbage bag gets too full and it bursts.
So anyway.
He's great.
But the anchor is not actually that great.
He's not that cool. I'm wondering if he's going to be like a ghost type. Like a water ghost type or something.
Oh, he possessed that sunken ship.
Yeah, which is kind of neat. We have this weird one that follows like that weird... There's guy Tapu Koko, who's like that weird totem lightning guy. And these may be like other forms of it. Like there might be multiple versions, kind of.
Sure, okay.
There's pre-evolutions of the legendaries.
Oh, yeah, that was really interesting.
Which is really cool.
One of them is a cute cloud with ears, and the other is an amulet. Really, they don't look like... I know. They don't look like anything. I mean, at least the cute cloud like has a little face.
And then we've got these new Ultra Beasts as well. It looks like there's a total of 8 Ultra Beasts in the game, and they have their own shiny colors. They were also confirmed as being catchable.
Okay.
Which is interesting, because I kind of didn't expect them to be. I expected them to be some kind of weird alien thing that kind of functions differently in the game, but I don't know. So what sets them apart from legendary Pokemans? Who knows?
No.
Okay.
Oh, time to get to the best part.
We gotta get to it.
The Alola region Pokemon.
Alola region Pokemon, like Alolan, Diglett, and Dugtrio.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I saw this and I was like, oh, this has gotta be fake. And then I realized it wasn't fake, and I was so happy.
So, Diglett doesn't look too different.
He's got his little sprig of hair.
Yeah, but Dugtrio.
Oh.
Beach Boys over here.
Oh my god, he's got the Prince Adam going on the one, and just he's like Hanson. He's like all of Hanson in one Pokemon.
So he just has beautiful blonde hair. That's the only way it's different.
Yeah, he's just got... No, the rocks around him are also slightly different. Oh, okay. It's not dirt, it's like black stones. And here's the thing. Lex, do you have any theories as to why a Alolan-formed Diglett has this beautiful golden hair?
Because they're surfers, obviously.
No.
Oh.
I mean, that might be part of it. But there's actually a rational explanation for it. Because all these Alola forms, they've been giving rational explanations for, which I think is really cool. So people took to the internet to try and figure out, why does Dugtrio have such beautiful hair? And I'm pretty sure someone figured it out, because this is such a logical explanation. In Hawaii, as well as other places with lots of volcanic activity, there is a phenomenon, which they call in Hawaii, Pele's hair. Pele is the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes and storms and stuff like that. And when volcanoes erupt, superheated molten glass is sometimes ejected from lava flows, and as it flies up into the air, it hardens into these long golden strands, which are similar to human hair in their consistency, and they get stuck all over stuff.
Okay, masturbation metaphor, I get it.
Yep. You get this beautiful. So you get these pretty like golden fibers that get everywhere after volcanic eruptions. The stones around Diglett and Dugtrio appear to be black volcanic rock. Ergo, these Digletts and Dugtrios live in volcanoes on the islands of the Alola region and get Pele's hair stuck all over them. And it gives them beautiful, beautiful hair.
Oh my god, they look so good.
I love that explanation too, though.
No, it is really good, yeah.
And also, that is leading people to theorize that Diglett and Dugtrio may now be a dual-type fire and ground.
That would be fun.
Since they've been changing the typings of a lot of these forms, too. And if he's fire-ground, he has permanent spot on my team.
That beautiful face.
I want the shiny one where he's got a sweet tan.
Yes. Good. Alright,
I love it.
What else have we got?
We have Garfield. Alolan Persian. Oh, Persian, did you eat all my lasagna again? So he just has a fat head. He looks exactly like Persian, but he has a fat head. He's literally the same. But that's fine, because it goes along with the Meowth's explanation of it was like, it belongs to royalty. Mm-hmm. So it has that more like, it looks like those stupid cats that like old Victorian people would own, like Scottish folds and stuff with really round heads. We have the weird looking Geodude, Graveler, and Golem here.
I really like those, actually. I think they look cool.
I'm like okay with the first two. I really like Golem. I think he's cool. He's got a big beard. He looks very Russian or something. He's like Rasputin. The theory with this one so far is that the chunks of, like, the black parts on them are metal lodestones, like magnetic rocks.
Okay.
And that these are going to be, like, a rock-steel dual type.
Neat.
And that perhaps Golem's thing on his back here is kind of like a railgun.
Nice.
So he, like, magnetically fires boulders.
That'd be sweet.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, and he has, like, it's like Wooly Willy with the magnet guy.
Yeah.
Magnet pen. You also have Pikachu wearing hats.
Okay. But they're not party hats, so I'm not that into it.
And some shiny versions of other Pokemon, like Alolan Raichu and Ninetales, and the legendaries. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on there. And the biggest news, perhaps, about Pokemon Sun and Moon is, and my favorite news about it, I don't know if you saw this on the 19th, HMs are no longer in the game. Cut, Surf, Fly, all those moves, gone.
But we want to be able to surf.
But you can't.
We're in the islands.
And the demo shows you how.
Oh.
Because now you get to call Pokemon that you can ride. And they're separate from Pokemon in your team.
Okay.
You can just call a Tauros and ride around on a Tauros to smash boulders. Or you can call some water Pokemon like a Lapras and ride around on the Lapras to get across water. So they don't take up a space on your team, and you don't have to teach them crappy HM moves to travel through the world. It's just abilities that you unlock the same way as you progress through the game, and can then use whenever. And that's amazing. Because HM moves are so frustrating. They were so frustrating. Because you have to commit the HM to the Pokemon, and there's really annoying to get rid of, and you have to carry around a stupid Pokemon that you don't like just because it knows some stupid move that you need to get through a certain area. So this is great. Last thing, I suppose, I played the demo. Fairly unremarkable. It's like, here's how you catch Pokemon. Here's how some other stuff works. It introduces the new villains, Team Skull, who I love, because they do, like, gangsta b-boy poses, like, constantly. Nice. They walk up to you and they're just throwing their arms at you like, yo, dog, yo. They're just hoodlums. I love them. They're the best ones since Team Rocket. The game comes out in about a month, on November 18th. I'm really excited to play it. I think it looks awesome, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Let's get into this news about the voice actors strike.
Oh, man. So,
why don't you take us into this one, Lex?
We found out earlier this week on October 17th, we found out that the Voice Actors Union, which is the SAG-AFTRA.
SAG-AFTRA?
Yeah. Were trying to finish up their negotiations for doing their new contract stuff.
And they've been trying this for 18 months.
And they had they've been negotiating for a really long time. And they had decided, they had pulled all their members in their union, and they had said, hey, if these negotiations don't work out, we're going to strike. Are you guys cool with that? And they had 96% of their membership supporting this decision.
Right.
So after that, we discovered that those negotiations didn't work out so well. So now they will be going on strike. It's official. So it was on, I think, the 21st Ars Technica article we're citing here, where it became official that they're definitely going on strike. All those voice actors are not going to be voice acting in the video games.
Yeah.
Now
that's a lot of voice actors.
Now, what's important to note about that is you're not going to see the effects of this for a while, because video games have pretty long production schedules. So there's still tons of games that have yet to come out that have already had voice acting done on them.
Right. Much of it's already been recorded for things that are coming out like early next year and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's probably not until like 6 months from now that this is at the well is actually going to that the well will actually run dry. But there's some really great quotes in this article. Oh, and as you said, they had been negotiating these contracts for 18 months, and there had been
since the last time we reported on this, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
because we reported on something like this quite a while ago, and I believe that was when this was all kind of getting started.
Yeah, it was when I think it was when they were voting to be like, hey, if these don't work out, we're going to strike.
Like a year ago.
Yeah. So there's some great quotes from them in this article. Actually, what I want to do before that, though, is talk about the different companies that they are not going to be working with, because there's a list at the end of this article.
Oh, yeah, throw it on there.
So these are basically all the heavy hitters. We've got Activision, Blind Light,
Disney character voices.
Yeah. Electronic Arts, Insomniac, Take-Two, WB
Games. Yeah. And then some others who I don't recognize as much.
So a lot of the big AAA studios, and a lot of so now to get to some of their quotes, which are pretty long, so I'm probably not going to read all of them, but I do want to go through them pretty quick. They say, in this industry, which frequently uses performers and understands the intermittent and unpredictable nature of this type of work, fair compensation includes secondary payments when games hit a certain level of success with consumers, not simply higher upfront wages. Secondary compensation is what allows professional performers to feed their families in between jobs. Right. Now, this is a really big deal, and this is something we reported on back when we talked about the different things they were trying to negotiate into the contract. It's just getting royalties. That's super reasonable.
It's super reasonable.
Like, so it's like they're not asking for more money if your game doesn't sell well. But if your game sells super well, they just want to be compensated.
If your game does gangbusters, like Nolan North in Uncharted, for example. The Uncharted series sells phenomenally. Nolan North voices Nathan Drake, the main character of those games. He is, I believe, especially because those games are consistently praised for their voice acting and, like, characters, he deserves residuals for the success of those video games.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't he?
And, like, Nolan North is even...
He's a high-profile example.
Yeah, so he might not even be the best example, because his thing is he's never going to have trouble getting work.
It was the first thing that came to me.
Yeah. But say you're a voice actor who does a really successful game and then maybe, I don't know, you get injured, you get your voice injured.
I mean, it happens.
It does happen. No, totally. And then you can't work for a while. It's really good to have those royalties coming in.
You're David Hayter and you have to growl out Solid Snake's lines in Metal Gear Solid 4. And it hurts your throat because he said it hurt my throat a lot to voice Snake in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Also, if you're David Hayter and you're the voice of Snake for years and years and years, and then they replace you...
Then they dump you for Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, it would be nice for him to still be getting compensated for copies of the older games that get sold.
Sell because he did a really good job.
Yeah. So let's see, we also have them saying, you can't speak to the fairness or unfairness of residuals or lack of residuals for programmers, artists, composers, and others who game developers and publishers because that's not my job.
This is something Will Wheaton said.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is Will Wheaton. Actually, to give some context for that also, a lot of people... attacked this union because they were saying, well, all of these other positions aren't getting paid well either. So,
but that's beside the point.
But it's beside, because if the voice actors unionize and get the residuals, then that could set off a domino effect where if these other positions also get paid better.
Concept artists want to unionize and try to get residuals for a game. Do it.
And if
but that has nothing to do with the voice acting strike.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. So, okay, so he can't speak to the other things because it's not my job, and I don't know what precisely their contracts are. I certainly don't believe that there is some sort of a feud or lack of shared interest between us, the actors, and them.
Right.
And I fully support all people who work on games, especially the huge blockbuster games that pull in profits that are in line with the biggest blockbuster movies, getting the very best contract and the best compensation and best working conditions that they possibly can.
So his response to people saying, hey, we don't get this, is like, well, you deserve to, if you're not.
Yeah.
But it's not my place to do that, because I'm not a part of that group of people.
But he's also saying, like, he supports them, so if they wanted to unionize and fight for the same thing he's fighting for, he would support them.
Yeah, so it's, but it's so obnoxious when people attack things like this and say, well, I don't get that. It's like, well, maybe you should fight for it.
Yeah.
If you want it so badly, like, but it's beside the point. So we will see how long that strike goes. I would hope it gets resolved before we start to see the results of it.
Yeah.
I would hope.
So...
but time will tell.
So we're going to keep you updated, because this is one of those things that I think now that they're actually striking...
could be pretty important.
Yeah, the game publishers understand that they mean business.
Yes.
We also might, in coming weeks, have some really gross stories about, like scab stuff going on.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And that's going to be unpleasant to report on, but we're going to report on it.
We're going to do it. We're going to get in that dirt. Put that dirt all over us.
Ugh.
While we're on the topic of voice actors... Persona 5's English voice cast got confirmed.
Oh.
And it is largely people who I don't recognize, which I kinda like. Especially Mr. Xander Mobus as the protagonist. That's a name. In fact, the only two on this list who I do recognize...
I recognize one of them.
Mr. Matt Mercer as Yusuke Kitagawa, and Cherami Lee as Makoto Nijima. Cherami Lee has done other anime voice acting roles... and she's fairly new to the industry. I think she's been around for a few years yet now, and she's done some pretty high-profile stuff, but she's good. I like her a lot. And listening to her voice after I saw this announcement, I think she'll fit that character pretty well. Matt Mercer's a cool guy. Mr. High Noon himself.
Yeah.
McCree. Voicing Yusuke, who's kind of the... I don't really know how to describe his character well. He's kind of a hoity-toity artist type in this game.
Okay.
So it's an interesting role for him, but I could picture him doing it. Yeah. The rest of them, though, I don't know who any of these people are. And maybe it's because I'm not up on the new dub voice talent. But on the one hand, it gives me the worry of, like, these aren't tried and tested people as far as I know, which I could be completely wrong about. These people probably have done numerous things already. Just not things I've seen. So I'm kind of like, oh, I hope they're good. On the other hand, it's so relieving to not see the typicals here. I love Liam O'Brien and Johnny Young Bosch and Yuri Lowenthal and Steve Bloom and all those guys, but they're in everything.
They are in everything.
They're so... They so pervade the whole like scene of anime and JRPG dubs that not seeing them on this list is amazing. I'm super happy about it. So we can just hope that it all pans out well. There's a trailer that you can hear little samples of the voice acting and it sounds fine, but it's not really much to go off of. It's only like 53 seconds.
Oh, that is pretty
with
short.
With very little dialogue even in that, so...
So let's go to Red Dead, because we're pretty much out of time.
Yep. What's all this other stuff? Oh, I want to dance on people's money grapes for a second. So I didn't buy Star Wars Battlefront when it came out because it was a $60 game that wasn't worth $60, and then they were like, we're also releasing $60 of downloadable content over the course of the next year.
Yep.
You have to pay $120 for this game. Guess what's coming out soon? The $40 bundle of everything.
Oh my god, that's such a huge price
November
drop.
18th, 1 year later, you can get the whole thing for 1/3 of the price.
And the season...
So I think I'm going to pick up Battlefront.
I mean, you should, because with all that DLC, it's totally worth $40.
Waiting paid off.
Oh my god.
That's heinous, though. Like, that's disgusting.
I can't believe they did that.
It's been a year.
And because isn't the season pass, that's a year worth of content, right?
Yes.
So as soon as that was over...
Yes.
Oh my god.
$110 purchase if you got the season pass, $120 if you didn't.
I feel so bad for the people who spent this money.
This is disgusting. I'm gonna buy it for $40.
I mean, you should. It's a good deal.
Beyond Good and Evil stuff. Red Dead. Let's play the little teaser.
Red Dead, there were... Okay, so at the beginning of the week... Rockstar started tweeting some stuff out. They tweeted out a red image with the Rockstar logo on it, and people were like, "Ooh, what is this?" And
it's roughly red.
Then they tweeted out
so pretty.
a movie poster concept from
of like
the
Cowboys.
Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
But no, it was another red screen with like a sunset and the 7 cowboys.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, we know what this is." And then they released a little teaser trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2.
And that was yesterday on the 20th. And it is a very teaser trailer.
This tells you nothing about this game.
It's guess what? It's set in the Wild West,
and it's a AAA current gen title, so it's really pretty.
It's really pretty.
It's so pretty.
It looks like terrific visually. There's like one line of dialogue in the whole thing.
Yep.
And it shows some cowboys riding around in a big old open world. The open world looks gorgeous.
Oh my god, it looks so nice.
Not just in graphically, but just the general design of it and like the scenes of natural beauty that they show you in this trailer. Like, it's amazing looking. I can't wait to like explore this in this game.
And we know from the most recent Grand Theft Auto game
that
they can make really big open worlds
and make them really good.
And
Red Dead Redemption, if you haven't played it by now, like you really still should, because it's a great game.
It is a great game.
And it totally holds up. I'm excited for this. It's due at fall next year.
Okay.
They also said without a specific date.
Yeah. One of the big speculations about this is because GTA, their online multiplayer, makes Rockstar like buckets and buckets of money.
That this will have a similar function.
And because what we've seen in the trailer of the little we've seen is a bunch of cowboys riding out together.
Yeah.
So it seems very likely that
it'll be a multiplayer element at least.
Yeah.
That's great though.
And then Rockstar will make a ton of money.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's gonna be good.
Massive multiplayer online cowboy game.
Great.
Super good.
There aren't any of those.
I want a saloon shootout with my bros.
Yeah.
So good. I want to rob a train.
There's definitely going to be train robbing missions.
There was a train in the trailer, and the smoke coming out of a smokestack looked so good.
I want to be able to kill off all the buffalo, make them go extinct from the top of the train, just like they did in the Old West.
Speaking of GTA 5, someone made a mod that turned the sticky bomb into Galaxy Note 7 files.
Okay, so this I actually put up as one of our voting stories for the week, and it didn't get picked.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
But I still really wanted to talk about it because it's so funny.
It's super funny. Samsung got really butthurt.
They issued takedown things on everyone who put videos on YouTube of this mod.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't think that's legit. Like, I don't think they can do that.
For anyone who's had their head under a rock, the Galaxy Note 7 explodes. Like, not in this, like, in real life.
They even recalled them and then issued new ones to people, and those also exploded. So now they've just discontinued the Note 7 entirely.
I'm really glad me and my wife got S6s.
Yeah, because you were buying phones around that time.
We had the opportunity to buy them.
Oof. And dodged a bullet. Nah. Dodged an explosion there.
Yeah, seriously.
Man.
So what did win the voting story?
Oh, the Warcraft. World of Warcraft story. So this is a fun little story about Warcraft Legion and how they've hidden all these neat Easter eggs.
Yeah.
In the expansion, and one of them is the
hardest boss in the new expansion so far.
Yeah.
Engineer Omega Plug, who is a souped up version of like Mechgineer Thermoplug or something. I can't remember what his name is, but he's a boss in the old, like, level 20-ish dungeon of Gnomeregan that's been in the game since the very beginning.
Yep.
And apparently with this new expansion, if you bother to go in Gnomeregan and, like, delve down into there to his room, there's a new boss down there.
Yeah.
And he's apparently obscenely difficult.
So hard. So if you accidentally stumble upon him, he will kill you.
He will die. He is, like, turbo raid boss. To unlock him, you need to enter Gnomeregan and make your way to the final boss, Mechgineer Thermoplug. However, you must not kill him. Instead, there's a pillar near him now that has a button labeled Push Me. And hitting that will summon the new boss who will destroy Thermoplug and take his place. He has 270 million health and a ton of attacks that do absurd amounts of damage that can kill most high-level player characters that are in the game now in one hit.
Whoa.
Your group will need to be extremely geared if you want to take on this challenge. Apparently he drops a special item that lets you turn into a leper gnome.
Nice.
Nice. So I think that's really cool. And makes for a perfect little, like, goofy story. Also, a quick update. PAX East badges went on sale. And we're going.
We're going.
We're going to PAX East.
Yeah. We're going to be there.
We might as well throw that in at the end of the show.
I meant to throw that at the end of the show, and I totally forgot.
I was on top of it.
So, PAX East is going to be March 10th through 12th, 2017, next year.
We are going on the
spring.
12th.
Yeah, we're going on a Sunday because I had been watching those sales like a hawk, and then they went on sale, and I was like, okay, but I'm at work, so I'll get to it in a minute.
And then Saturday was gone.
So...
That's fine, though.
So we're going to go down there. We were able to get those tickets because of our Patreon donations.
That's how we were able to pay for it. We talked about it, and we were like, that'd be the perfect use of our Patreon money.
Yep.
So for anyone who's given to our Patreon and wants to know where some of that money is going to go, or has been going, it wasn't going anywhere until now. And we are putting it to good use to improve the show and give us some first-hand experience at PAX so we can report on for you.
We're going to go to PAX. We're going to go to all the indie devs that are hanging out there. We're probably going to do interviews. We're going to talk about different games we find there. It's going to be great. We're going to use sanitation wipes so that we don't get sick.
I'm so excited.
So excited
to be sanitary.
Mm-hmm. So when in the spring, expect a whole lot of reporting that we're going to be doing from there.
And I'm sure we will mention that again once it's, like, closer.
Yeah, no. But video games coming out.
Recently released...
Today, two big games came out.
Battlefield 1.
And Civilization 6.
And Lego Harry Potter Collection.
Yeah, I mean, that's... We were all looking forward to it. But and then on the 25th, we have games such as Batman Telltale Episode 3.
The 3DS version of Corpse Party.
Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it.
Just Dance 2017.
World of Final Fantasy.
The 5th chapter of King's Quest.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Oh, and a little PS Vita horror game called Yomawari that looks really neat.
Neat.
If you're interested in that kind of thing, look up
Also, that's also coming out on Windows, so if you don't have a Vita like everyone, you can still play it.
don't have a Vita. The Berserk game, I believe this is, Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, is coming out in Japan on the 27th, but not in the United States until February. But if you want to import it, because who cares about the dialogue... It's a Muso game.
Yeah.
You can. And then next week we also have Titanfall 2, and Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition.
Special Edition that should have been called Remastered Edition.
Yep. And that's about it.
That's about it. I mean, there's big stuff coming out, but not a lot of big stuff. Just a couple of
We had a
big
big week. A big week for game news.
Oh, man.
Get that Nintendo Switch. Can't wait to have more information.
So we have been Don't Copy That Floppy. I have been your host, Lex.
And I have been your other host, Dan.
You can find us on all sorts of awesome social media, such as YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, iTunes, Steam. All of them.
Yes.
All of them.
Also Patreon.
Oh, and you can support us by going to our Patreon.
Give us more money so we can continue to go to PAX.
Well, so if you support us on Patreon, not only can you get cool things like bonus content and the ability to vote on stories, you can also help us hit milestones, such as getting a Twitch channel, which we did. But you can also allow us to save up to do more reporting, like going to conventions and reporting on the stuff there.
Yes.
So there's also, if you want to do a one-time donation to the show, you don't feel like making the Patreon commitment.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you said
on our Twitch channel, there is a link directly to our PayPal, so that you can just donate a couple bucks that way.
If you're like, hey, you want to give us $5, but just the one time?
Just go for it.
We are going to have another Twitch game stream soon.
Oh,
We're going to figure out an exact date for that.
It's probably going to be on Sunday the 30th of October.
That seems like the likely case right now. And we will be playing spooky games just in time for Halloween.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. But anyway, that has been the show for the week. Please tune in next week on Friday the 28th. Give us a listen at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, remember, don't copy that floppy.